Janice Monaghan, née Jones, was born on the 14th of April 1949.
Liar!
Her mum and dad were Betty and Ernie Jones, and they lived in 58 Southworth Avenue. Now, I'm not saying it was rough in Southworth Avenue, but they used to play tick with axes. Not long after that, they moved to the select area of Lodge Lane, we're thinking about 1959. And she went to school at Beauty College of Knowledge. And this evening, we won't let the truth get in the way of a good story. Now, we've searched the school record at Beauty and came up with absolutely nothing of sporting or academic achievements have been found. In fact, we've searched high and low and we can't find anyone who's seen Janice running anywhere ever.
And I'm still the bloody same.
In fact, it's not obvious that she can do anything other than walk. But more of that later. But Southworth, Lodge Lane and Beauty formed her character. So how do you describe Janice? Well, I think the closest thing is she's a person of extremes. Janice does nothing by halves. She was also prepared academically to enter into the nursing profession, where she met Betty and Maureen, who became lifelong friends, and they're here tonight. Betty and Maureen, please. Come on, don't dawdle. Where's Maureen? What I didn't know until today is that Betty passed her exams first time, Maureen second, but Janice had 3 attempts to get into the nursing profession.
Alright, got get there!
Each time a failure fully consoled with whiskey. That probably goes some way to explaining Janice's expertise in diagnosis of illness. So, for example, Janice, I've got a headache. Aye, that'll be a brain tumour. Janice, I've got indigestion. No, that'll be a stomach tumour. At this time, Janice perfected the technique of terrifying friends of her sisters. Janice was number 2 of 4 sisters, and all she needed to do was simply look at them. She still has what I call the up and down look. Starts at the head, moves down to the toes, back to the head, and that's you weighed up. Usually with some extremely disparaging remark. People knocking at the door to meet their friends would often be told, Susan's not in, Angela's not in, despite actually being upstairs waiting for their friends to arrive. I have personal experience of how terrifying an ordeal it was to be in the house with Janice. At this time, she was set up on a blind date with Eric. And not much was known of Eric at the time, other than he had a Triumph Spitfire. And Janice spent much time practicing how to get into the Spitfire whilst wearing a miniskirt and, quote, not showing my arse. Well, what I can tell you now, Janice, is there's a lot more arse to show now than there was in those days. Anyway, the relationship with Eric developed rapidly, and a quick engagement followed by marriage on the 18th of December 1971. When Janice told Bet, her mum, about the marriage plan, her response was, "Don't tell me anything about that, I'm going to have a breakdown." Eric's opening gambit on the first date was, "Do you want a park drive?" To which Janice's put down was, "Certainly not, I only smoke Embassy." Such style. Anyway, before too long, their loins got going, and Samantha was born on the 27th of September 1974. Come on, Sam. Now, needless to say, Sam was the apple of Mum and Dad's eye, and much time was spent nurturing Sam's dancing talent by ferrying her all over the country to dancing tournaments. And I believe your tutors are here this evening? Miserable buggers have gone home already. Strike that from the record. The other skill that Janice developed into a fine art over this time was squabbling with Eric. I think this is best illustrated by way of an example. I found myself digging, with Eric, a great big trench in Woodcote Close. Why he had to bury the rubbish, I don't know. Where the rubbish had come from, I don't know. But there we were, digging a trench. Janice appears after an hour or so. "Would you like a cup of tea, Andy?" "Yes, that'd be very nice." She turned to Eric and said, "You can piss off. You're not having one," and went back inside. They'd been squabbling. Things moved on. Next on the scene was Phil, whose military training and skill of commanding a battery of troops and fighting the enemy enabled him to withstand the onslaught of Janice. And they married on the 26th of July 1996. Phil, hand the camera over and up you come.
There you go. Yeah, right, come on. Yeah. Just do it.
Their loins got going in turn, and Ryan was born in 1998.
Best
Ryan,
year.
hand the camera over. And Jenny May in 2001.
Well, Jenny 98 was better. Have we got?
More apples of eyes. and Janice doted on them all. Now, I previously mentioned Janice's skill of walking, or lack of it.
Phil, are you going to get
Whilst
battered
I
again
was
twiggy?
researching this, I found out that she's fallen over whilst roller skating with the kids, out of a minibus, out of a car, and over a pavement in Paderborn. That brings me to another extreme story of Janice's. Whilst visiting Sam and Phil in Paderborn in Germany, Janice fell out with Sam, packed her case and started walking, presumably back to the UK. On a trip to Scotland, Janice decided to buy a dog and returned home with one, despite the fact that she doesn't actually like dogs. Also at this time, over the years, she developed a number of hobbies stroke money-making ventures. So, for example, she went into cake manufacturing, wedding dresses, and curtains, and she claims to have made the curtains at Walton Hall. And if you wanted a wedding dress which smelt of nicotine and was stained cigarette brown, Janice was the woman for you. Her musical talent was also being nurtured at this time, and Janice had to buy the biggest and best keyboard to help her. And she would have bought a Wurlitzer if it had fitted in the house. On a whim, Janice went out and bought a banjo. Can you believe it?
And I couldn't play it. I couldn't get nothing out of it, so I got rid of it.
Her dress sense also developed into extreme bling at this time. She had more sequins on her than the Oxford Street Christmas tree. Food, another example. Nothing with pips, nothing with seeds, nothing with spice, eyes, seafood, strong flavours, or mushrooms. She does, however, like cream. Her party piece was if you were having a party, she loved to turn up dressed as an old man, complete with mask, dirty suit and walking stick. Her musical talents were also being honed at this time in the evening and night sessions at the Wagon and Horses pub. God help us. But nothing prepared us for the ABBA rendition when she called out to Philip for her inhaler from the stage, all by sign language and without missing a breath.
Debs. Who's killing me?
Following Eric's untimely death in November 2009, Janice eventually started a relationship with Dave. Again, nothing is quite straightforward, and Janice's first approach was to send 2 nurses to knock on his door. I have no record of what the ensuing conversation was, but it seems to have worked in as much as the relationship has blossomed. And despite Janice's aforementioned lack of sporting prowess, Dave has introduced her to the delights of cricket, arguing, rugby league, arguing, fishing, and arguing. Finally, I'd like to finish with another extreme. Her extreme kindness. Circling right back to the beginning of the story, Maureen mentioned that her mum had no curtains up, and Janice simply sorted it out without any fuss at all. She's simply extremely kind. Nothing is too much trouble for Janice. She'll look after people without being asked, and for some time and some personal commitment without any complaining whatsoever. Mention seat covers, and she's on the sewing machine. Mention childminding, and she's on the train. Looking after the whole brood without a by your leave. A trip to Folkestone is no problem, and nothing phases her. She's never any trouble to have to stay, but that's not an invitation. Janice Monaghan, née Jones, this is your life.